What's happening, everybody? I'm Justin Czar with bowhunting.com, here to talk to you guys today about a brand new sight from our friends over at HHA Sports. This is the Tetra RYZ, and I'm going to show you guys all the features of the RYZ, but the biggest thing that you're going to notice is that it looks like a single pin. It looks like the traditional HHA single pin we've all come to love, but we've actually got two pins inside here. The second pin is a fixed position below the first pin, so you can't move how high it is, but it does give you a second aiming point. And with that, we actually have two yardage markers or yardage indicators over on the wheel. And I'll tell you guys the perfect use case scenario for this. You know, as somebody that grew up shooting a fixed position, multiple pin sight, the idea of transitioning to a single pin sight was pretty scary at first. I'll be honest with you. It's not something that I really wanted to do. Of course, now that I've done it, I love it and actually can't go back to a multi-pin. I've tried a couple times, but single pin is where it's at for me. But having a second aiming point really helps in those situations that everybody worries about when you think about a single pin. You come to full draw on an animal. He's at 20 yards. That animal spooks, goes out to 30, 35, 40. You don't have a second aiming point, and you got to decide what to do. Are you just going to hold high? Are you going to let down and adjust your sight and try to draw back? We know that that's probably not always going to work. You know, time is at an essence when you're out in the field and you're at full draw. The Tetra RYZ gives you that second aiming point in a situation where you don't want to let down and you need to adjust your yardage. Now, what you're going to find here, and like I said, is that you've got two pointers, two yardage indicators on this wheel. So you're going to set this sight up just like you would with any single pin sight from HHA. You're going to use your top pin only. Forget the second pin even exists. You're going to sight in at 20. You're going to dial the wheel all the way to 60, and you're going to figure out what tape number that you use. I personally have tape number 55 on this particular bow. So what's going to happen here is when I'm at my, what I call my home base or my home position, where my top pin is 25 yards, or I'm sorry, 20 yards, my second pin, you can see this dial right here, we'll zoom in on it, is set right at about 35. So I've got a 20 and I've got a 35 at all times. And for me, when I'm whitetail hunting, that's really all that I'm gonna need. I don't like to shoot whitetails past 40 yards. Now, if I go out west and I'm gonna be doing elk or mule deer like I'm getting ready to do in Wyoming, I certainly am gonna be wanting to shoot a little bit further distances. But in that case, I can probably dial my second pin to 50. My first one ends right at about 35. Probably not going to get a whole lot of shots that are closer than that. So that's perfect. Now I've got a 35 and I've got a 50 for those out west hunts. So it's a great option for the person that wants that single pin feeling. You've got that vertical single pin. It's not cluttering up your sight picture with a bunch of horizontal pins in there, but it gives you a second aiming point. This is going to be available in two different sizes. So you can either get the 19 thousandths or the 10 thousandths. The top pin is always going to be green, but you get your choice in color on that second pin, either yellow or red. So depending on which color you see better, you can order it in either one of those two colors. The model that we're looking at here, this is it's the Tetra Max. It's got the removable wheel here that would allow you to shoot multiple different arrow setups if you wanted to. The standard Tetra does not have the removable wheel. It's got a little bit of a different kind of pointy type design here on the wheel. That's going to be the big difference between the Tetra and the Tetra Max. They're both going to be available in either a dovetail or a fixed position mount, depending on what you want. Of course, we're looking at this is a V3X33 here. It's got the bridge lock technology on it. So I've got the dovetail mounted through the riser of the bow. Now this is something also new from HHA for this year, which is these short bars on their tournament edition. If we look at the standard tournament edition sights that we have known in the past, this is a 7-inch dovetail, whereas this is a 5-inch dovetail here. So you can see we lost a couple inches off the dovetail itself, and all that really does is aesthetically keeps this mounted right here at near the back of the riser versus sticking out in here a little bit. Like I said, it's really just aesthetics, not functionality. Maybe you save a couple ounces of weight as well. So you're gonna have this available in a fixed mount, two different dovetail options, in either a Tetra or a Tetra Max, and then you've got your choice of pin size and pin color. So a lot of different options for the folks that are interested in it. These sights are going to retail. They're going to start in the low 300s and they're going to go up to north of 500 depending on which option you guys pick. If you go top of the line, Tetra Max, 10 thousandths dovetail, you're going to be just north of 500. The fixed position, 19 thousandths pin on a Tetra, a little bit over 300 is where you're going to end up. So there's a pretty big price range in there depending on what fits your budget, your need, your application the most. So I'm actually really excited about this. I think it's going to be a great, kind of a compromise between that single pin and that, multi-pin sight where you've got 3, 4, 5, sometimes 7 pins cluttering up your view. I just don't have a need for those for what I do. So I think the Tetra RYZ is going to work perfectly. The other advantage you get out of having a secondary pointer is the ability to shoot longer distances. And I'm not necessarily hunting at longer distances, but sometimes it's nice to practice at those longer 80, 90, 100 plus yard distances. And the reason that you get extra distance out of it is that you don't really get more clearance, but you have a lower aiming point option. So you could see here, I'm shooting a relatively heavy arrow. I don't shoot a lot of poundage, so my tape at 55 gets me, my tape number 55, gets me out to about 80 yards. So right about there is where I'm gonna feel comfortable shooting and not having any fletching clearance issues between my fletching and my scope housing. So that top pin is gonna get me out to 80 yards. Now that I have a secondary aiming point and a secondary pointer, I've got an extra 10 yards here. So I can shoot 80 or out to 90 with my particular setup. If you're somebody that's shooting a little bit higher poundage, I think I'm usually shooting mid 60s. If you're shooting, 70, 72, something like that with a lighter arrow, a little bit lighter, this is a little over 500 grains, let's say 400 to 450, you're gonna get well out over 100 yards before you start having clearance issues. So just gives you that extra option that guys have been asking for. And who doesn't like shooting arrows at 100 plus yards? It's certainly fun to watch those things fly through the air and hopefully hit the target. So that is the new Tetra RYZ, brand new from HHA, literally just released today as you guys are watching this video. So if you guys want to learn more, check them out, hhasports.com. HHA dealers already have these on the shelf, so you can go pick them up today, or you can order them online. They'll be shipping in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So hope you guys enjoyed it. It's the HHA RYZ, brand new. Make sure you check it out.